Wait, there's something on that table next to you.
Yeah, it's my pad. And the book. Do you want the book on your side?
I have a book on my side if you want. My water's out of the frame. Good deal.
Woo woo. Welcome back to another episode of Reframe and Reclaim. I'm your host, Jen Harris.
And I'm Courtney Huckabee.
And today we're talking about back to school. It's that time of year again. I don't know how it's already back to school again. I feel like summer just started.
Well, and I think it's the hard part for so many people, all the summer fun, we get to have a little lax routine, we get to go explore new places, we don't have to go to school or do homework in the afternoons.
Some parents are really excited about kids going back to school.
There are lots of people excited to go back to school
right?
too, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, having routines and having, people who, aren't in home bothering you all day long, trying to figure out childcare and camps and all
Oh my
things.
goodness, and the schedules and all that, yes.
Yeah.
So today we're going to kind of talk about the transition back into the fall routine and back to school. So I have found one of the most important things is schedules. If you've listened to the podcast before, you notice we do a schedule in the summertime as well to kind of try and keep my boys a little bit more on task and on track. But, with the new school year comes new schedules, right? Maybe your child is transitioning into a new school and the hours are different.
Right.
Maybe you have another kid who's going to be going to the same school and now you're going to have to prepare 2 or 3 kids for class instead of just one. There's also the expectations of extracurriculars. Is your child picking up band this season? Are they going to play a sport? Is that going to require earlier drop-off times, later pickups? All those things that can have factors into the smoothness and functionality of your daily routine.
Definitely. Working with clients of all ages in our office, we have kids who are, doing childcare. Some are having after school care. Some are middle school, but I have to be at work. So are they riding the bus? Are we getting a neighbor to take them? Are they walking to school? And so it can be a really big challenge, not just like how to get to and from the school, but also, who's going to take them to the piano lesson? Who is going to, what days do we have baseball practice? When are the tournaments again? And also we have homework, by the way.
Yes. Oh, that as well. And then also I also think it's important to start planning those little vacations. So like the long weekends, if you know you're going to be going away, go ahead and book that, get that plan, because I don't know about you, but like September comes along and then it's just a snowball till Christmas because they don't warn you about this. I'm pointing at the camera right now. You get back to school and everybody has a September, October birthday. And so you get back and then you start getting invitations and there are multiple parties every weekend and you can't make all of them. And it's unfortunate for all those kids that are born all at the same time.
You want to celebrate them
You
still.
want to celebrate them, but it just, your weekends get sucked up like that with parties. And so last year it was like September was a blur. Because then I had 2 kids in school and all their classmates are sending invitations and you're trying to plan for 2 different birthday parties. And again, then it just felt like it was Christmas. So
yeah, I will say, I feel like every year goes by so fast, but, planning ahead is really helpful, or just like pre-communicating expectations, especially if you have a lot of multiple children at home, or if you have a lot of activities or extracurriculars, or added responsibilities or expectations for the adults too. This is what the routine will be. Even having like a family calendar is really great. Somewhere that you can just put it on a bulletin board, somewhere you can put it, so that everyone can see it or access it. And everything from, when that special, event is, when the project is due, what is for dinner that night. And having those things pre-communicated beforehand, it doesn't always have to be rigid, everything planned out. But the more you can do, the less you are flying by the seat of your pants,
yes.
Which is great.
Calendars, 100% hands down. I think you have to have an open calendar. I personally like to color coordinate. So one kid is in
Me
one
too.
color, a parent is in another color. So that way it's just easy for you to visually see what's happening. Because
Yeah.
I once I get in the back to school mode, like I can't see beyond a week most times,
Sure.
right? It's like what's happening this week, and that's all my brain can handle. So the more that I can get done before school actually starts, the better.
Yeah. I know for me and my husband, we try to get together, once a week or once every other week and just like, hey, what does your work schedule look like? Hey, what's the special events at school? Hey, these are the things that I've got going on, and trying to navigate and just being aware of those beforehand, putting them on the calendar. What's for dinner before we go grocery shopping? We're going to have dinner on Tuesday night. We're going to have leftovers on Wednesday. We're going to go out to eat on Friday, whatever that is. But then that way there's less that we're trying to manage at the very end, and then everybody can be a little bit more on expectation.
Yes, yeah. And I'll say we do a family meeting on Sunday nights, and that really helps us kind of get in the mindset for the week. It gives us like downtime, family time, so that way we've wrapped up all of our weekend activities by dinner time Sunday so we can get back in routine. And at that time, we go over the weekly calendar. It's like, this is what's coming up. Like
Right.
you were saying, here's the things we need to look out for. This is also the time, though, when we do allowances. And we
Oh,
go through and we talk about like either a win for the week or something we're thankful for or give compliments to each other. So it's a really good, just little family
awesome.
bonding time. But I also get, the non-fun adult stuff done and the kids, are tolerant of it. So,
Well, and I think, I talk a lot with parents about family meetings, and, it doesn't have to be something's wrong, but like, let's
right.
just talk and be on the same page. Dad's going on a work trip, or we have baseball camp next week, or, we have this big science project, or you got that English test. How are we preparing for it?
We got to get these overdue books back to the library.
Right.
We got...
Right, right. But I think it's really great for everybody to kind of know not just what you're doing and what you're responsible for, but also gives perspective to the kids or your partner of all the other things that are happening at home, and can check in during the week. Hey, how'd that math test go? I'm really excited for baseball this weekend. You're going to do great. And just kind of like talking through that and helping them have support through the week as well.
And speaking of those scheduling and those leveling of expectations, like how do you help your clients walk through like how to adjust those expectations for the fall, or how to work through those problem areas?
Yeah, especially, if you have kids who are school age and they're staying up later than usual, I usually ask, hey, you decide what's appropriate for bedtimes. However, start that before the day before school. If we're talking about meal prepping, are you buying lunch at school? Are you packing your lunch? Who's packing the lunch? Doing that like a couple of weeks in advance if you can, especially bedtime, at least a week in advance. These kids are having so much fun staying up late, sleeping in later, hopefully sleeping in a little bit, and getting back on those regular routines can be really helpful. I know that if your kid is in a sport, there is sometimes those fall sports that they start the trainings early. Like, so if they're like a football, or if they're a cross country, or if they're a swimmer or a volleyball, all those fall sports, you're going to have early practices already, or daytime practices. So that's really great. They're getting them prepared. But as parents, we need to be doing the same thing for the academic school year as well.
Yes. And then also expectations for chores too. So how do chores shift for the fall? So like for my kids, in the summertime, they make their bed, but in school time, they don't, because we're usually running out the door and we just don't have time. So also getting everybody on board. This is also a good time with the family meetings to bring this up. But also it's, they've aged a year since last year. So what new chores can they have? What are the expectations as they're growing and maturing, and do they need to make their own lunches for school? What do they need to be responsible for? So going over all of those things. And this is a great time to do it.
And I will say a lot of times when we have multiple kids in the same household in our office that are coming in, there's a lot of complaints about, I'm always doing this chore, or he's always doing that chore, or she always does that chore. So even having like a rotation of chores, if you can, of course, developmental abilities, age level of abilities. But, if somebody's always sweeping, maybe they will, vacuum one week and then sweep a week. If somebody's always feeding the dog, maybe they're feeding the dog in the morning and someone else is feeding the dog in the evening. So allowing us to all share and take care of the home and be, people who are contributing, but also that expectation of maybe there's certain chores in the summertime, like making your bed. We're not going to make that a big chore for the fall, but what is expected is helping us pack your lunch.
Right.
Or getting your clothes in the hamper by a certain date, or, doing the dishwasher in the evening.
Well, I like the idea of rotating with the kids too, because then that's more like real life, right? Like they're getting experience doing all the different chores, but also it's working with another person to make sure all the chores are getting done. So
Yeah, and we
really
always
good.
think the grass is greener over there. That's
Right.
easier. They
Oh,
get
yes.
finished faster,
Yes.
and so when they get a chance to get to the trash, because they think vacuuming takes longer and trash is easier, then they're like, oh wait, it's smelly and it's like sticky, and I have to like walk it across the
I have to
house.
wash my hands.
Wash my hands. I think it is really important that, of course, there's a lot of complaining with expectations and responsibilities, but it lightens the load for you so that you have more mental space and, okay, remember cupcakes next week, or remember I've got to, sign these papers for school, or remember that special show and tell that's happening that day.
And I think going along with those, those kind of special one-offs, whether it's a party or cupcakes or library day or whatnot, having a good system and drop zone or a place where you put your backpacks before you're going out the door is critical to make everything go smoothly. Because there's going to be the mornings you oversleep. There's going to be the mornings. Yeah, it's just not going to go as smoothly as possible. So the more you can prep in advance, like we always say, like get dressed, pick your clothes out the night before, whether you're an adult or a kid, always makes the morning go smoother because you don't have that added time stressor and crunch. But that was one of the game changers for me, was having like a really good drop zone with systems that worked for my family. So it's like backpacks are hanging, papers go here. And then whenever they come home, I immediately look at the papers. Anything that needs to be signed, I sign it, put it in their folder, put it in, and it's done.
Yep.
Because for me, it's like, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
Completely.
I'm going to forget about it. And, a week later, they're missing the field trip. So.
And nobody loves that.
No one wants that.
Nobody wants that. But I do like the idea of if you see it, do it. I think a lot of people say, I'll get to that. And then, now we're cooking dinner, and now we've got a meltdown at bedtime, and now I've got to stay up and finish that report, and now I'm exhausted and I forgot. I think a lot of people that say, well, I'll put it here and I'll do it later. If you can, and I know it's not realistic for every situation, but if my kid brings me something, I put it away, where it needs to go. He's 4, he doesn't clean up everything on his own. So he brings me his lunchbox. I unpack the lunchbox right when I get home, take all of, let the dogs out, unpack, put things where they need to go. And then it's really helpful for me to say, okay, that's done. My mind can move to the next thing. I don't have to remember to go back to that.
Yes. And I think it's critical for those like family meetings or on your calendar, noticing like which days there's baseball practice or a sport or extracurricular. Am I going to be cooking or am I picking up food?
Right.
And if so, can I go through their papers and backpack stuff while I'm sitting there waiting for their sport activity? So I'm not doing it late at night. So thinking about those things in advance and how you can maximize your time and you have realistic expectations, because you don't want to buy a fridge full of food if you're eating out 3 nights a week for sports,
Yeah, and if you have a co-parent or a partner, making sure we're talking about, hey, I'm picking up baseball, practice. Can you get, piano lessons on the weekend? And figuring out what's realistic for your work schedule, your home schedule. Or, hey, I'm taking him to football practice. Can you grab dinner? Can you make dinner? So that we have a plan and not trying to do everything all by yourself.
Yes, because then you just get overwhelmed. You nag at the kids.
There's resentment.
Yes.
We're going to get overwhelmed and burned out, and then every night's pizza night and figure out what you want for dinner because, I'm tired. Right.
I will say, that brings up another thing, though. Another chore that goes on my kids' list is they're responsible for like pulling their snacks, getting their snack station restocked, So having them be in charge of that has been another helpful
Mm-hmm.
chore that they can take on. And they like the ownership of it, and then they know exactly which snacks they have and how many of each, and they will let me know if I need to restock anything.
Which is so great. It's like one thing that like I provide what I feel is comfortable and nutritional or delicious for my kids. They know how to access it, and they know, when to tell me when that needs to be redone. Now, also, if you have older kids, teenagers and stuff, hey, what are you wanting to make for dinner? Can you make dinner one day? Or, you can pack your own lunch, or you can do your own laundry. Your laundry day is Tuesday, or when the washer is empty, you can do your laundry, but, you got to finish it because once I need the laundry room, and coming up with those systems. I know for me, I do all the laundry, but I start it all, and then me and my husband just tag team and fold the towels and put away, the kitchen towels and mats, and put my son's clothes away. But it's really helpful. I start on a Thursday night and it's finished by a Saturday morning. And so it takes a few days, but, I think it's really a good functional system for us. Now, when it gets to, times that change, like a vacation, or if my kid's going to a different school, different routine at school time, you just shift.
Do you remember anything from a kid of like the back to school transition that was either hard or easy, or a system that your family used growing up?
My goodness, I loved the summer. The summer was so much freedom. The summer was so great. I stayed up as late as I wanted. I had dirty clothes. It didn't matter. I was playing outside, thinking as a kid. I think one of the challenging things was like school supplies, what I could continue to use and what I needed something new of. Or I really wanted to get that really cool glue, but glue wasn't on the school supply list. So like navigating that negotiation with my mom about that. But I do remember it was kind of fun for me to organize my school supplies and get those in advance. And then you got the cool ones, the like bright colored ones or the really cool glittery things before they got sold out, which was really important.
You always have to buy early. Don't wait for tax-free weekend. It'll be gone. You got to buy your...
Everybody goes tax-free weekend, which is a great weekend to do it. But if you can even do a little bit at a time, as, the school year is getting closer. I loved organizing my school supplies and then like going in with like a cool new folder or a backpack. What about for you? Like what was that transition?
Yeah, I liked organizing all the supplies in my pencil case. Shocker, like
we both like organizing things. I know. We wrote a whole book about it.
It's like, why doesn't this have pockets on both sides? This is not a well use of this folder space.
Functional.
Yes. But I liked the back to school shopping, and like as for clothes, because we would be in Maine, and so we would do our back to school shopping up there in the summertime, because all their summer stuff's on clearance as they're getting ready for the colder months, which we could keep wearing it down here. So we got good bargains and got lots of new clothes that were always fun to wear. But yeah, I really liked the organizing and like getting my folder ready and
I liked getting things to like decorate your locker too, and so like
I love the locker organization
and
the
organizing that, and then a little whiteboard on the inside. I love that. I love those little fun things that probably weren't necessities, right? But they made my locker more functional, and I wanted to visit my locker more, and so I had things organized, so it helped me be more successful. I say,
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I also find... Oh, go ahead.
I was about to say, but the challenge of that is, if you had a locker partner, sometimes they didn't always appreciate, and they're just like shoving stuff in between classes because they're trying to unload those heavy books.
I never had to have a locker partner.
So fortunate.
See, but if you had your shelf, though, it seems like it's like... Yeah. I have my space, you have your space, but like they would just encroach on it.
Sometimes you have a good locker partner. Sometimes you wouldn't. I'm not sharing names.
That's how it is at home too, right? Sometimes people pick up, sometimes they don't. But one thing I know we've talked a lot about back to school with kids and stuff, but even if you don't have children in school, if you're a working adult, like I always found back to school, I enjoyed it because two things. One, it kind of got back into regular routines. People were back in the office, so it seemed like things got accomplished quicker as far as a workload goes. But it also meant that I got to take more vacations because everybody with kids were gone during the summer. And then they're gone on the long weekends. AI, I guess. And they were gone on the long weekends, and then and so those off seasons when things are cheaper,
Yes.
when I can go
That's
with my
awesome.
friends, yes, so we'd start planning our trips this time of year and getting in all those good deals while everyone else was in school. Now traffic always got a little
That was
better.
what I was going. I was like, even before kids, it was like, oh, I've got these school zones that are active now. And
Right?
everybody's getting to school at like 8 a.m. when I'm supposed to be at the office. So
Yes.
I think
Turning around that.
everybody, doesn't appreciate that part as much.
It's a little
But
adjustment period. But
having
that's
to
why
wake
you have a trip to look forward to.
or you have to wake up a little earlier too whenever the school year runs around again.
Yes.
But that's when you just, okay, I'm going to start my coffee at home. I'm going to drink my coffee in the traffic and enjoy my coffee and my podcast.
Get your podcast on.
Yeah.
Yep. I
So,
like it. Well, we hope you have a smooth back to school season. I find it always takes a couple weeks to really kind of get in the swing of things and get back in routine. But once you're there, it goes pretty smooth. So
yeah. And if you have any great ideas, tips, tricks, strategies, or systems that you use, please comment below. We love to have any of those shared so we can probably practice those as well.
yes.
And we hope to hear from you. If you like us, share our content, like and comment below, and we'll see you soon.
Leave a review if you can. That is the best way for the algorithm to spread our message and have other people find us. So happy August, September back to school, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.